No one spoke about him before, and he was always the underdog. Now he's probably going to win the classic physique. Everyone hates him. He's such a bad guy, and he's got a bad attitude, and his ego's crazy. Why do people do that, and why do they start trying to chip away people above them? Like, literally, he is doing what everyone else is doing, but there's a camera on him because he's probably going to win. It's the same as Lance Armstrong when he won all the Tour de France's. Everyone just points at him as the cheat, but it was like the top 10 were all doping. But no one ever talks about the other 9.
Mike Sommerfeld is supposed to be the favorite to win the Olympia title this year, but lately things changed, and this year's might not just decide if he wins the trophy, it might decide if bodybuilding accepts him at all. On stage, he's being caught using a technique that violates the rules, a clever trick that judges are missing, and off stage, he's being exposed for scamming a graphic designer.
So he keeps the design and then prints it a few months later on a shirt and doesn't say anything to the graphic designer.
He's already fighting a civil war with his own German rival Urs Karasinski, and his gym temper shows the truth. He's an ego monster.
We're talking about the same thing?
We don't.
How many sets are we doing?
0.
No, don't touch!
What Mike?
So the question is simple. Is Mike Sommerfeld the next great champion, or will his toxic personality and hidden tricks destroy his career before it truly begins?
Bodybuilding is an illusion. It's not always who has the biggest body parts, but it's who's the most symmetrical and the most balanced.
In that introduction, he immediately used the word fraud, and that is reserved for actual criminal deception. Not anything involving posing, no petty payment disputes. The opener uses conversational clickbait, and it's accusing Mike Sommerfeld with back-to-back allegations before you've even got time to get the evidence. Just assuming that he's guilty by association. So to get this right, nothing as of yet implies fraud. I get the intent, but it's YouTube storytelling. But let's keep the idea of a scandal and substance separate before we hang the guy.
Mike holds the sides of his posing trunks and make it higher on the hip bones. When he does that, it pulls the fabric tighter, hides part of his obliques, and it makes the waist look even smaller. This creates a stronger V-taper. This is for the front lat spread and the back lat spread. The rule states,
"It shall be strictly forbidden for the competitor to pull up on the posing trunks so as to show the gluteus maximus muscles."
That means intentionally pulling or manipulating the trunks during certain poses is already disallowed, and that's...
So Mike raises his posing trunks, which makes his waist look smaller, which then violates IFBB posing rules. This part gets interesting. The guy who made the video quotes IFBB rules regarding pulling the trunks to expose the glutes, but this is mainly written for the open division and the rear poses. The rule is universal in age. It's been in the book since about 2017, but it's very, very little enforced in classic physique due to the competitors adjusting trunks in any time to make a V-taper. Mike does it in front poses and side poses to present, but not to expose the glutes, but to elevate the hip line presented. And that is the same as what everyone else used to do. The Frank Zanes, the Arnolds, the Sergio Oliviers, as he's just mentioned. It's literally angle manipulation, and it's to try to make the physique look better on stage, and it's perfectly acceptable. If the judges aren't going to call him out on it, then he's going to keep doing it, and it is what it is. I'm sure he's not the only person to do it. So yes, there is a rule, but context is important. What context is it being used? If you're going to label someone a cheat, at least make sure that division had the rule at that time and the judges were enforcing it. If not, that's just complete eyewash, and it's complete BS and character assassination. It's up to the organisation, the IFBB, to enforce that consistency. Consistently through the whole organisation in all divisions. Don't just single out one person when there are probably many, many more people actually doing it.
When Urs made his Olympia prediction, he put Ramon Dino to win and Mike in second place. A perfectly normal opinion, right? Not for Mike. He fired back, not about the physiques, about the nationality. He complained that Urs should support his fellow German competitor, basically saying, you need to support me just because we're from the same country. Urs replied with a simple line, it's just my opinion, LOL, you don't even live in Germany. Mike wanted support.
Mike told Urs he should support him due to the German heritage. This is half ego and half misunderstanding. There is pride in the country that gets tricky in bodybuilding. It's not a team sport, it is an individual sport. And yes, Mike's comment about support your fellow German looks petty. But if you remember, both of these guys are under pressure from the populace. There is rivalry, there's sponsorships, there's national pride all coming into it. Hers handled it quite blandly. That is just my opinion, haha. And that diffuses it. Though I will say that the tone carries differently in translation from German to English. Sometimes things don't translate. He might have meant respect your countryman and not blind loyalty. Either way, it shows that he's clearly emotional, not calculated. He's reacting, not strategizing. Is it arrogance or is it frustration by always being compared to another guy from your own country? There's a fine line between arrogance and inferiority. But elite athletes are usually on the line between these two things every day. And it's an online bicker and it's being made a big deal out of because I don't know why.
Mike's temper truly showed. He argued for 10 minutes over technical detail of the quad extension machine.
And what I'm explaining to you is that we're talking about the same thing.
We don't.
But nothing's changed.
It can't be heavier.
It's not.
It can't be. It's not possible.
It's not heavier.
Exactly, but it feels heavy, and I'm trying to find out why.
I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, forget it.
Then he dismissed Eric's entire set, calling the training playing around like kids.
How many sets in are you here?
How many?
How many sets are we doing?
0.
Huh?
None of the sets do count. None of them.
These?
No.
Why?
Because we played around like kids.
So, an argument with Eric Janicki, bearing in mind that he's just a couple of weeks out from a competition. Mike argues on a machine load calls an exercise childish. The clip is one that gives you feedback on the type of mentality that he has. He's obviously competitive. Some might say overly competitive, but it's a massive stretch to call it toxic. He's literally weeks away from the biggest competition in his life, where he's got a clear road to classic physique champion. There's a misunderstanding. He's probably on a decent amount of anabolics, he's low on energy and he's trying to get shit done. There's a camera in his face and he's probably very, very low on energy. And it is what it is. Eric did well with it. He remained calm and just did the experiment. The contrast between those two makes Mike look worse, but context is important because he's in a long prep, he's low on energy, he's probably like 4 or 5% body fat getting ready for that competition and he's still expected to lift these heavy weights. He's probably low on carbs, cameras in his face, and athletes on contest preparation are not normal people. Cortisol is out of sight, the sleep will probably be short. So is it bad? If you saw it in the gym you wouldn't think anything of it, but because it's Mike Sommerfeld and it's on camera, suddenly he's the bad guy. It's an emotional outburst. It could define him. It shouldn't. When he shouted at Eric, don't touch, like his training is so meticulous that he needs those reps. Any assistance that he will get in an exercise means that he can't track his progress properly. He doesn't know whether he's progressively overloading. He doesn't know whether he's getting stronger. He doesn't know where his body's at. It could be the difference between winning and losing, and not literally because it's a rep and a bit of assistance, but the whole mindset behind it of where he is, where he's going over 16, 20 weeks of getting into the position that he's in now.
What's your weight cap in Classic? No, weight cap. What's your cap now? How much do you weigh?
How much can you weigh for your height?
What's the cap in your height?
Secret.
I don't know what it is.
Well, no, it's public. What is it? What is the cap in men's?
It's 212.
The fan backlash suggests Mike isn't just fighting for a trophy, he's fighting against the negative image of himself. Mike was publicly called out by a fitness commentator named Gu for 2.
Before we move on here, Mike Sommerfeld has literally come to like the top in the last 3 years probably No one spoke about him before, and he was always the underdog. Now he's probably going to win the classic physique. Everyone hates him. He's such a bad guy, and he's got a bad attitude, and his ego's crazy. Why do people do that? Why do they start? Why do people do that, and why do they start trying to chip away people above them? Like, literally, he is doing what everyone else is doing, but there's a camera on him because he's probably going to win. It's the same as Lance Armstrong when he won all the Tour de France's. Everyone just points at him as the cheat, but it was like the top 10 were all doping. But no one ever talks about the other 9. It's just so stupid. As for the secret weight cap, that one is just a bit awkward. Maybe it was like lost in translation. He's trying to make small talk. Mike's using the approach that he's protecting this missed opportunity and strategy. Weight caps are literally a public thing. Anyone can check out the IFBB table, and not having it to hide is silly. He's in all likelihood trying to build a mystique about it. And I know there is some drama about his height and being measured in wrong, and that is yet to be seen. Apparently the IFBB are going to start doing more rigorous weigh-ins, and we'll just see how that goes. And it is what it is. I'm not commenting on that at the minute, but he's weighed in at that stage before. He might need to lose 8 pounds, he might not. But calling this arrogant is a massive exaggeration. It's probably just social awkwardness than any malice. It doesn't make sense.
Pause. Is that supposed to be bent? It could be. Yeah. It's not supposed to be bent.
Mike Sommerfeld. What the Mike?
Second, and even worse, allegedly scamming a graphic designer. He took a t-shirt design, refused to pay the $300 fee, and still stole the merchandise. He only paid the designer after the scandal became public.
Here's the conversation he had with the graphic designer asking for his help in designing the shirt. And then it came time to pay.
And the guy sends it to him, and he's like, okay, it's $300. And Mike's like, no, I'm not going to be able to recover the money, so I'm not going to use it. I'm actually not going to print it, so I'm not going to pay you. So he keeps the design and then prints it a few months later on a shirt and doesn't say anything to the graphic designer.
Now, some say Mike is arrogant. Others say he's just missing.
Apparently he photoshopped and scammed a designer out of $300. This is where we jump from the category of gym gossip to supposed allegations. If this is true, the refusing of paying a designer and later selling a part of it is very shady, full stop. But what is important is proof. Invoices, screenshots, timelines, any other evidence. A WhatsApp screenshot is not evidence. It just could have been that there was some confusion among teams. And $300, that's change for a pro athlete. It doesn't make sense unless the motivation is ego and not greed. You can criticise actions without being a scammer. On Photoshop, for nearly every influencer, that means lighting changes, saturation, changing the shape and symmetry of his muscles. It's not deception per se, it's presentation, and he's literally second at the Olympia and probably first this year. Like, shouldn't do it, but also, like, everyone knows.
Understood. But one thing is clear. While most bodybuilders are fighting only for the trophy, Mike is also fighting against the growing negative image of himself.
I'm not cocky or arrogant that I say I'm gonna win the show, because nobody knows. What I know is, if someone is able to beat me, he will deserve the title. That's for sure. But beat me first, then we talk.
And as the Olympia approaches, there is another layer of pressure. Can he even make weight? 2 weeks out, he looks already massive, and the same thing goes for Ramon.
I do think it's interesting. If they do remeasure Mike this year, there is a 1/4 of an inch that could decide whether he can be 212 or 204. And if he comes in shorter this year, he might be screwed.
People are saying that if he's remeasured, he could lose classic eligibility. He could do, or he'd have to lose 8 pounds because of the height difference. It's the only real competitive threat in the video. 1/4 of an inch less or taller raises the weight limit by 8 pounds in this instance. That's important in this instance. Now the IFBB will have to remeasure everybody, meaning that the shows that they've done in the past, they won't just take that weight for granted, they will measure everybody properly. And this is important to do because if he was measured wrong, if he does have the wrong height, then he's at an advantage that he shouldn't be, and that is important. It shouldn't actually happen. And it is controversial because he is probably going to win. I think he will win. But if he is 5'9" and 1/4 Are these people making these videos actually going to admit that they were wrong? Time will tell, I suppose. So like, Mike Sommerfeld is not a saint. He's emotional, defensive, and he polices others' hard work. Everything presented in this video suggested fraud. It's not fraud. There's no case for fraud. People might think he's cocky, but with good reason. We'll find out by early October whether he's going to win. And then when he does win and weighs in properly, then we're going to all agree that he's the best in the world. He's brought a new look, and he's probably going to go on for longer than Chris Bumstead as well. And that's just the reality of the situation. So let's see what happens with his height, and let's stop calling him a fraud. See you in the next one.